Hi, it's early in the morning again. I feel like I could just bang these videos out forever and ever and make them hour long, but I will try and make it not so long. I wanted to talk about the romanticization of suffering in our culture, especially the romanticization of suffering, like of women's suffering, because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I really do think it's an issue, and it's certainly been an issue for me growing up, being very affected by, in the 90s and zeros popular culture. I want to start out by saying that some feminists want women to be strong, which I think we all do. Like, of course, I want women to be strong too. But I think oftentimes feminists think that strength equals hardness, like to be hard. And that's not really strength in my eyes. And then on the other hand, we have the rest of the culture, which romanticize the suffering of women, the pain, the heartache, all the music that I listened to growing up, like PJ Harvey, Hole, and stuff like that. It was always about, how they would how the man was the most important thing, and how they sacrificed their happiness and really had this heartache. The same with Amy Winehouse, which I will get to in a minute. So there's this really uneven balance in the world where it's like either you have to be strong, which in some people's minds equals hard, or you have to be the right kind of woman who will sacrifice your happiness for the love of your life, or what you think to be the love of your life. And I think, art is art. Art is a tool, in my opinion, to express many things, and also feelings that aren't politically correct, or things that would be better you didn't feel. Like, for instance, you want to kill yourself because your love broke up or something like that, or you feel you just want to die and that you can't live on. Of course, there's room in art to express these kinds of things, but I think there wasn't a parallel conversation about in the culture where I grew up, a conversation about how to survive these kinds of things, and that you're not supposed to let yourself go, and that it's not the end of the world, and that you should really take yourself out of the situations and the people that don't value you, so I think, of course, it's okay to have these kinds of dark feelings. It's not, I don't want to taboo them. I just want to say that we need a health aspect into it. And it was a problem for me, I think, growing up, seeing all my female idols acting this way, or these all this music that is written by women about heartache, and you really see some thematic differences, between male and female musicians, in my opinion. And I think this is a result of our culture, and it also at the same time shapes our culture. It keeps molding it into this, self-understanding we have that we as women, that it's natural for us to suffer, that it's acceptable. And I think, I think it's acceptable to express pain, but I don't think it's acceptable to accept that our lives are ruined because someone leaves us, or when someone's been a dick, and they really don't deserve that attention, although you want to give it to them, because you're in love or whatever. And I just think, that there lacks a conversation about that. Yeah, it's okay to ache sometimes, but we're talking preventable suffering here, where I think it's about self-worth a lot of the time, that you yourself have the internal feeling that you really don't deserve to suffer. And I think many men have that internalized. Like, I know very few men who just go on and on, like, suffering for many years because someone left them or something like that. I think, women are much more, they tend to have deeper connections because of the socialization, because it's accepted, it's expected from us, and that molds us. This expectation always molds us in some way. And I was watching this documentary, this 2-hour-long documentaries on Amy Winehouse the other day. It was very moving. It touched me a lot. And there were heaps of interviews where she would talk about her love, this Blake dude, this druggy guy, and how she just was so in love with him, and how she was ready to do everything for him, even sacrifice her own health and, well-being, because she just had this idea that it was just true love between them, that he was the male version of her or whatever. And it's like, I remember having these kinds of feelings, but I think it's so important to know that these feelings exists in our brain, I know it's something spiritual as well, like it can be, but it's again a result of not having this conversation in our culture, that we're not supposed to let ourselves go because of some stupid guy, When you think about Amy Winehouse, the incredible talent, and I mean, she was such a... When I look at her, I see like... And when I listen to her music and look at her, I see like a creature. And also when I hear her talk, it's like she's this kind of really dark creature, and this darkness can be used in creating really beautiful and interesting art, but you also can't, it becomes a tragedy when it's used to destroy oneself, and I think there should be like a feminist support system in our world that is like encouraging women to not let ourselves be consumed by people who contribute to suck our identity and our talent and everything that we are out of us, you know. But I think it's we see our moms and all our female idols doing it, like sacrifice themselves all of the time. You know, just think about all the female musicians with, you know, heartache and suffering themes in their music as compared to male musicians. And the stuff goes way back, you know, to Eve even, you know, Adam and Eve, where it's like, we had said for the first time, I think, that women are supposed to give birth in pain because, you know, she did this and that, and I think, you know, this comes from the culture that we were raised in, this Christian patriarchal culture that women are supposed to sacrifice themselves, you know. So it is like as if there's a lot of suffering connected to women. It's interesting, actually. In Danish, there's a saying that goes, you have to suffer for beauty. Like beauty has to hurt. And this is also a very patriarchal claim or saying, you know, because women do suffer, and they still do suffer, you know, all over the world, you know. It's expected by women to make an effort to that men don't have to make, you know. No one expects men to shave their legs or their armpits, or, you know, not having a mustache, you know. No one expects men to wear makeup and nice clothing and not look shaggy, you know. I mean, at least not in the same way, you know. And I think this all also comes from patriarchy, you know, where men see women as accessories, you know. We're expected to, like, worry about our appearance, you know. I remember, you know, a boyfriend telling me once, you know, why are you wearing a backpack, you know. And it's like, I carry my stuff, you know. But it's like, he always wanted me to be like an accessory. He wanted a beautiful girlfriend, you know. I remember once where I told him that I had been to a cake orgy in the youth house in Copenhagen, and he was like, he got really pissed off and said that he didn't want a fat girlfriend. And it's like, what the fuck, you know? I was telling him about how I had the best of times, enjoying heaps of delicious cakes, you know. It had been such a feast, you know. And then he's like being really grumpy and telling me to watch my weight, you know. Like, I wasn't fat at any point during this relationship, but apparently, you know, he was so paranoid that I would not, you know, that I would stop worrying about my weight. Because, you know, what if I got fat, you know? You know, damn me if I wouldn't worry about my weight, you know? Like, this is crazy stuff, you know? Yeah, there's also, I mean, this, from our culture, this Christian pietist Lutheran culture. It is a culture where you're expected to suffer. That goes for men too, but it's in a different way, right? They have to provide for their family. That's a pressure too. That's a hard expectation. But women have had to be breeders. They had to take care of the kids and the house and so on. And of course, look good for the man, look neat and nice and not fat. Or maybe back then it was more acceptable, but yeah, not wear backpacks, ugly backpacks that are really comfortable and practical, as opposed to handbags that makes your back crooked and isn't healthy and is really not comfortable to wear. But whoa, ooh, what if you don't worry about your looks? That would be horrible. I remember him also saying, like, a girl that doesn't wear makeup, a girl that doesn't use conditioner, something like that. Like, he was just dumb in the way he all the time told me to be more concerned and more focused on my looks, because women all over the world are just not concerned enough about their looks, They should be more concerned, and preferably they shouldn't think any thoughts for themselves, They should just be an echo of the guy, or just listen. And that was something that we did a lot, him just talking, blah, 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 and me listening. And then if at last I would say something that, that would really provoke him, and he would get really mad, because he just, talked so much, but apparently didn't talk enough. If I would, dare to say something, he would like, wah, criticize it, So I think we come from like a suffering culture, especially women, from this pietist, patriarchal Christian culture, and that of course overlaps with rape culture, because rape culture is also this notion of, having to give something, if we want it or not, and having to take something, literally take something without it being beneficial to ourselves. We're not supposed to ask what we deserve or what we want. We have to just take it. The same with heartache. So I think this is something we need to talk about. When I think about how many years that I spent warning men who didn't give a fuck about me, then I think, looking back, that wasn't acceptable, I think, I was just worthless to them, And, it goes for any relation, really, that it's unacceptable to mourn so much when people just don't respect you or are just treating you like you're worthless. Unacceptable in the sense that you deserve to move on, It's not like it's not that I want to make pain and suffering taboo. I just want to say to women that they deserve better, and that we can help each other. We don't have to suffer. We have to have awesome lives all the time. And I think women have a tendency to not remember that they deserve awesome lives. I know that I've forgotten that numerous times in my life. This was not a concept that I had internalized in my head for many, many years, And now my notions are starting to shift, luckily. And I hope yours do too, if you're in the space of repeated suffering all the time and just keep being in relations that are causing you heartache, or if you're in heartache about a lost relation, I think it's so important that you tell yourself repeatedly that you deserve to be happy, And I think I had this notion, but that I had been, somewhat I had that notion that I was deserving of happiness because I'm a pretty good person, objectively speaking, But I think it was just so hard with my culture, Christian background, and the way that I've been socialized to really have it as a strong foundation that I deserve to be happy and not in pain, So I think we have to work on that all the time, every day, Okay, I have to sleep, and good luck on your work. Work, 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 work.